Okay, and again, welcome everyone to our ACMP New England Spring event, one of many that we're going to be doing this year, one of many virtual events. I want to introduce Allie Hartman, who is our board chapter membership chair, and her Accenture colleagues. I'm going to hand it over to them right now to present today. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you guys so very much for having us. We're super, super excited to bring this story to you guys and to talk to you about what we're so passionate about, which is really about measurement and how do we really find purpose in our projects and drive that purpose towards that outcome using data. So my name is Matt Chockey. I am the Change Analytics Enablement and Measurement Service Area Lead within our internal and global IT organization within Accenture. What we do is we drive journey and change management across all of our Accenture projects that are internal to Accenture. Accenture being a large corporation that has global offices, about 750,000 people around the world. Our role isn't to go out to clients like most of the folks in Accenture, but instead to drive the type of change management work across the projects that keep our company going. Allie.
Everyone, I'm Allie Hartman. I am the enablement, analytics, measurement, all of the things strategy lead in our global IT Journey and Change Management Center of Excellence, helping our change teams get this work done. And I'm also the membership chair of our ACMP New England board. Happy to be here.
And I'm Brian. I am the Change Analytics, Enablement, and Measurement Change Lead. And I'm also super excited to bring you our story here today and to tell you how you can some outcomes from your data.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. All right, guys. So what are we here to talk about today? First of all, 83% of people are going to believe any data point you put on a slide. It's interesting, right? It's not true, though. That's something that we made up. Just like the cartoon shows here, what we kind of come across all the time is that there's a whole bunch of data points and a lot of information out there, and we want all of it, right? But we don't really understand what it does. So as we see here, we've got a new dashboard. It has all the different KPIs. We can track all these now. Oh, great. What's this one? It's going all the way down to 0. It actually measures how well we understand them all. And we find that that's such a critical aspect to what's happening these days with a data overload, change overload. Everyone has something that's important to them, but we struggle in really identifying what are those most important metrics that really tell us if that business outcome we're trying to achieve is happening, right? It's great to know all these other things, but we invested in this for a reason, and we want to make sure those reasons are truly being discovered, right? All right, let's go next.
All right, so we can start off with a quick poll. We're just going to ask that you give a reaction down at the bottom of your screen. So to start, have you defined success for your change project or work? Do you have a change measurement approach? And are you regularly evaluating the impacts of your own work? Let's see some thumbs ups if we're doing those things on our projects. Let's see. Anyone? All right, very cool. It's like we got a whole bunch. Awesome. Well, very cool, and hopefully we'll convince you today why it's so important to be measuring the impacts of your own work, and then driving towards those outcomes.
That's right. Well, hopefully after this, they'll definitely be doing it. So we're going to talk about why insights to action. Why is this topic so important to us, and why are we here talking to you about it? So first of all, aligning on business objectives and desired outcomes, right? Not something new that we're thinking, oh, that's the magic bullet, but actually just executing against these and then using data to help drive these decisions, turning that information into insights and then taking action, right? That's what really is the differentiator here. So as you're going to learn a couple different ways throughout this presentation, we're going to talk about why insights to action and why taking these steps is so important. And it's going to sound like a journey, right, that you're going to start on, right? Like, how do we align on that destination? What's that desired outcome of our journey? And then we want to understand, right? Like, what is it that we need to get there? So how do we guide that transformation? What type of metrics are going to be important to ensure that that journey we're taking is actually going to the right destination? Okay. And then we want to use that to guide that transformation. So now that we have some information, what are we doing with it, right? How is it going to help us understand what's going on in the adoption process and where we're at and where we're going to go, right? How can we take this information and change our change intervention a little bit in order to achieve those results? Finally, taking those data-driven insights and really locking in on those outcomes that we're looking for is going to be the key. So as we kind of go through this process, you're going to hear again and again as we walk through the agenda here about how you can think through getting from the initial business outcome and purpose all the way through that end sort of success story and the realization of that value. So first, an insights to action overview, right? Around like, what is it that we're talking about? What is it? What is data or things like that? That's kind of what we're talking about here. Then we're going to go on a journey, right? Allie's going to take us through the map and we're going to understand what are the different stops along this journey and how do we think about this in a more simple way that takes it out of the technology and things like that. And just makes you think of the common sense approach for, you know, getting from some sort of desired outcome all the way to measuring and ensuring it's happening. Then we're going to talk to you about a framework that we're providing to you. It's a checklist of sorts that really just explains every step of the way along that journey and what you need to do along each of those stops in order to make it to that next destination and to really come to your outcome. We'll walk you through that approach and show you an activity so that you can do that yourselves. There should be a link in the chat right now. And then we're going to give you the real life story of how does this look in a real project? And then what do we do with that information once we've identified it within our value to metrics approach? And then how do we use it to take a change intervention and then to tell that success story at the end of the day? We'll leave you with a couple other examples and takeaways at the end and answer any questions you might have as well. First, let's think about what are we talking about, right? So, you know, like that cartoon showed, there's so many data points. There's so many things that we could gather, that we could think about, that we could throw against the wall. But, you know, just seeing numbers here and there, that doesn't really help you know anything, right? That's some data. That's great. We want to get that a little bit more organized. We really want to understand, like, what are these numbers we're looking at? But more importantly, let's get past what are they? And let's talk about, are they important to me? Do I actually care about any of these dashboards? Or is it just something that might be nice to know, right? How do we get from that data all the way down to that action, right? Turning that data into something that we can actually understand, we can explain, and then we can come up with a new plan, right? Around how to use that in order to get to that outcome that we want. And then again, use those insights to prove that, hey, these people are in fact using the tool the way it was intended, right? And that we are executing the way that we would expect. So that's what this journey is all about today, is moving us from just some data, right? All the way to like, what is that purposeful information that's really going to lock it in? All right, Allie, throwing it your way, I think. Take us on the journey.
Okay, so now I'm going to take you on a journey through change measurement. Now, this could be a long process, it might be quicker, but we are going to walk you through kind of a high level of what this path can look like. And then Matt will go through kind of that framework piece in a little bit more detail, and we'll leave you with those to take away. So first, we're going to look at, where are we going? What is that end destination down the road? What are we planning for? And here's where we're going to define what that success looks like. What is our value proposition? What are we doing on our day-to-day that's going towards the bigger business value and outcomes that we're trying to see with this change? Next, now that we know where we're going, we need to figure out, where are we now in relation to where that destination is. So we're going to define and assess any metrics that we may currently be using and think about other metrics that we maybe want to add in. Now here we want to also look at, are these the right metrics? What we don't want to do is look at what we call vanity metrics. These are metrics, data points that look maybe a little flashy. They might look kind of exciting or interesting, but they don't actually get you to that bottom of the pyramid, that action piece. We want to make sure that we're tracking metrics that go back to the purpose, the outcomes that we set out to do, and not just track things to track things. Most importantly, at this phase, we want to make sure that that individual insight or metric that we're looking at is enabling the business partners, the stakeholders, the leaders to act on that insight. We want to make sure that they're able to take that action is really important here. Now, next, we know where we're going. We know where we are. We're going to turn on the GPS and we're figuring out how do we get there? What's that path? So here's we're going to look at defining what our data collection methods and sources may be. Now that could be, for us, it's, you know, typically kind of technology data sources, but it could also be, you know, survey data, cultural assessments, your training numbers, your comms campaigns, any of that we can look at for data sources. And as a part of that, we want to look to figure out, you know, how do we get this data? Who owns this data? Where does it live? How frequently are we going to check in on it? So we really need to figure out kind of what's the plan going forward. Next, we're going to look at, you know, possible detours ahead. Maybe there's some hazards that we need to look out for. We're going to strategize and plan what actions we're going to take if the data starts leaning one way or the other. You know, whether that's good, bad, positive, negative, high, low, or average, normal. What, you know, maybe it's just a typical number. What are we going to do? What change interventions are we going to employ based on the data and the insights that's going to change the user behavior in the way that we want them to change? Now, next, you know, we've all heard that recalculating, you know, you got to figure out what we're going to do. So we are going to now at this phase collect and analyze that data. We've, you know, defined where we're getting that data, what its purpose is. We're going to start looking at the trends. And then we're going to share the actionable insights. So what insights are we starting to actually see from this data? What actions can we take, and should we change course? Next, you know, we're approaching the destination. We see it, it's right there. We can almost touch it. Here's where we're going to adapt our plan if necessary and act. We're going to take that action at the bottom of the pyramid. And so we're tracking and monitoring progress against those planned outcomes. We're always looking towards that end destination, what that success and value and outcomes looks like. We may need to adapt the plan based on what we're seeing in the data. And most importantly, we're taking the actions. We're doing the change interventions based on the data that we're seeing. And then just like that, in the snap of a finger, you've arrived at your destination as if it was so easy. And here's where we're going to quantify our business outcomes with that data. We're going to share our success story. This whole long journey could be a very large success story. Maybe this takes years, but we also want to stop along the way and take little snapshots of that success. And, you know, success could also mean lessons learned. It's not always, you know, sunshine and rainbows, but maybe there are lessons learned. And, you know, some great piece of advice I'm sure we've all heard is that you want to plan for your next vacation when you're on the current vacation. So here's where we're going to plan for our next trip, whether that's a totally new change, a new release or feature update in a technology, a new audience or geography, or new company altogether, that we're going to start planning and using these lessons learned to plan what our next trip looks like. And so here is this kind of long journey that will go through change measurement at a high level to hopefully get us kind of thinking in the same way. And now I'm going to throw it to Matt to go over a little bit more of the details and how we can actually do this in day-to-day.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What a great trip. Would love to take that journey alongside this team for sure. So as you note, you know, those steps 1 through 7, we've got 1 through 6 here, right? And they're pretty much the same. And so what Allie just took us through was a journey and at a high level of how should we be thinking about this? How can we keep our mindset on the right things to think about and to do along these stages in order to you get there, right? Because we are never going to be able to identify, what success looks like, measure it, right? And then act and adapt that plan if we're not really staying on focus, right? If we're measuring too many things like that, it's not going to work. So that's what's so important about this, is to sort of follow along these steps and to ensure that we're on purpose with each of these actions. And this checklist is going to help us do that. So we're going to have a handful of slides here that are going to walk you through each of those stages, right? You see you've got on the left here, number 1, define success. So how you read each of these slides, I'm going to explain that really quickly here. So we're not going to drain each bullet point, of course, but you're going to get an idea of how is this going to help you, and how is this going to be the thing that sort of translates that journey Allie just took us on into the actual steps along the route that you need to take. So on the left here, we've got define success. So you're always going to have on the left-hand side of these next couple of slides of like, what are we talking about, right? What is defining success? What are some key points about what that might mean for you? In the middle, we're always going to have some key players, right? Like, what are the team members and stakeholders that should be a part of each of these steps along that journey? What are those steps actually, right in the middle? A little bit of an input and an output, right? So usually there's some sort of business case, some sort of reason why this project is happening, or this new technology is being deployed, or whatever change is happening. And so we want to know what was the purpose of this, and what are we trying to accomplish, so we can make that our measurable North Star, right? That's what we're going to lock in on and say, okay, this is what we're trying to do here. So what do we need to measure and understand in order to know that's happening or not? There's going to be a handful of questions and some examples and outcomes and things like that on the right. So if we jump to the next slide, you'll see we've got step 2, right? Define and assess our metrics. So again, on the left, you get a quick idea of how to go. In the middle, you see the key players and the steps. And on the right, some key questions, some examples, things like that. We'll go all the way to the last one here, step number 6. So here we talk about, okay, now we've gone through each of those steps along the way. Brian's going to walk you through a little bit of this as well as part of our next value to metrics exercise. And then we've got it identified. Now we've gotten those metrics and we're starting to understand, well, what's happening, right? What is the success we're seeing, or are we not seeing what we would have expected? And do we have to start to take a change intervention in order to truly see those outcomes that we would have expected, right? And so all of this isn't to make it about like, were we successful or not? This should all be a learning journey, right? This is about, hey, did we really communicate effectively? Did we provide those head, heart, and hands to all of those end users that we would expect to do this? If so, we would expect them to actually execute the things, and we would be, observing that business outcome. If not, that means we need to adjust that plan and we need to do something else. We'll talk about a little example of that later as well. All right, throwing it over to you, Brian.
All right, thanks so much. Okay, so to get started here, I'm bumping it up in the chat, but getting us set up for the activity for later. So I'm gonna kind of walk through this process that we're gonna go through in the activity, and then Matt's gonna walk through a real life example that we executed here at Accenture. And so what I want you all to be thinking about as I'm going through the process and Matt's going through the example, think about a change project that you've completed in the past, one you're familiar with. And then we're going to kind of execute this process that I'm about to go through for your specific project. So as I'm going through each of these 4 steps shown here on the screen, be thinking about how those could apply to your project. So if you could open that up, have that ready, and be thinking about it as I'm describing the process, that would be great. All right. So what is the value to metrics process? So this is basically the tool that we use to get from step 1 to step 2 of that process that Matt and Allie just walked through. So we've defined the success of our project, but now we need to get to metrics that are valid, practical, and actionable, and that relate directly back to our business outcomes that we care about. So if we jump to the next slide, this is what the output is going to look like. It's in Accenture purple, but on your activity, it's ACMP New England blue. And so we'll walk through this process, but here's what the final output is going to look like. So keep this in mind as we're going through the process. The first step is over there on the left in the outcomes, and then we're going to walk all the way through the 4 steps to get to metrics. Can't access slides, it looks like. If someone would be able to take a look at that, that would be great. But I'll just keep plowing forward. So to start, we're looking at outcomes. So we've defined our success in step 1 of that change measurement journey. And so the prompt here is define your desired project outcome in 6 words or fewer. So we want to make sure to keep the overall goal very concise. So at this stage, we're going to want to consider the business value of our project. What are we doing here? What's the goal of our project? Hopefully this has already been discussed at the beginning of the project, but this is kind of the starting point for this value to metrics process. So the next step is defining the benefits. So we know what our overall goal is. So if we're to achieve that goal, how is that going to benefit the business? What are the benefits that we're going to see by achieving our project outcome? So we're going to put 3 of those in that relate back to the project outcome. The next step is behaviors. So this one is a little more theoretical. So this is what theoretical behaviors could we see from our end users that show whether we've achieved those benefits. So we're not tracking anything yet. We're just kind of observing the behaviors that our audience or our stakeholders are achieving. So we've defined the behaviors that show whether the benefits happen, and we know the benefits show why the project outcome is important. And so finally, we get to tracking those benefits. So we're defining our metrics that are actually countable and trackable, that are able to show whether or not those behaviors that we defined in the last step are actually happening. And so this may feel like kind of a simple process, but really the whole idea is just, taking it step by step and making sure that by the time you're defining metrics, you know exactly why it relates back to your project goal and how it's going to benefit the business. So if we jump to the next slide, we get back to that output. So once you've defined all these 4 steps, over on the right, we have all of our metrics collected very nice and simply. That can be taken to a development team to build out into a dashboard. And then you can see clearly as you move right to left why each metric is important for that project outcome that we defined. What's the benefits and what are the behaviors that we're tracking with each metric. And so now Matt is going to walk us through a real life example from Accenture.
And that's actually me today. You get special Allie today. No problem. Okay, so now I'm going to take you through an example, and this is one that I was a change lead for a few years. So I will walk you through that entire kind of framework, how I did it in my day-to-day. So first, we're going to start again, of course, at defining what success looks like. Now, for Accenture, we use our 360 value meter to define what success looks like across these 6 dimensions, looking at all these different pieces that we consider valuable. So I'll also kind of highlight that the top right corner, you'll see kind of that framework, and a black little star will move along where we are in the process, just to take note over the next few slides. So I'm going to set up kind of what this project was. So for us, it was a technology implementation for our legal IT department. And this was to create an application that you can think of like your basic Google search on top of our contracts. We've got, more than, I don't even know, 2 million something contract documents in our repository. And we need a quick, easy way to find the right documents. And the old way, prior to the tool, the way was to email 10 people you may know that maybe were on that project, and to find out maybe 3 have left the company, 2 are on vacation. Maybe it takes weeks or months to actually find that document. So we're going to use this new tool as a way to quickly search and find those documents. So we define what success looks like across these 6 dimensions. You don't have to get into the weeds of what all of these bullet points equal. But here's where we're going to kind of define what that looks like. Now, for you, it may be, a vision statement or a North Star or a mission statement or a business plan or project charter. Any of those could work to kind of inform what you want to define as success for this change. So next is where you're going to take out that activity. Hopefully there's a link in the chat. And if not, you can always just, use a piece of paper next to you, old school. But here's where you're going to use that process that Brian just defined. Think about a project that you're very familiar with, or maybe one that you've done in the past, or one that you're working on now. And I'm going to walk you through my example, and I'll give you time to stop and practice for yourself at each of these phases. So to go through it, here's again what kind of our end goal is looking like, where we're going to define our outcomes, benefits, behaviors, and metrics for this project in particular. So let's wipe all that away, and we're just going to look at defining what the outcome looks like. So here's where we're going to define your desired project outcome in 6 words or fewer about. I realize this is 8 words. And here's where you're going to just be really concise on what that outcome is that you're trying to drive. So for us, we did all of these bullet points in this 360-degree value, but it really boils down to using contract analytics to save time and money. That's all it really comes down to, is that we want our legal people to be able to find these documents quickly and to save money. So now I'm going to give you, let's say about, we've got time, but maybe 3 minutes to think about your change project and try to come up with an outcome, pretty concise in a couple of words. You can go over 6 if you need to figure out what that outcome, what's that purpose, that value that you're driving towards, that your change is trying to help. So I'll give you a couple minutes now. And I will just see, I'm seeing a couple of comments. If you click on the link, that should bring you to the document itself. And you may have to, I think it's like file at the top and then click download, I believe is one of the options. You can download it. You can also just, write it on a piece of paper next to you or in an, open email or anything like that. It's just to kind of get our mind thinking here.
Yeah, simplicity is your friend here, I think, as well. Just, really, what do you think? Why are we on your project? What is it about?
It's a little too long.
And if you want to maybe pop a thumbs up or some kind of reaction if you are done. A couple. Okay. Is anyone feeling brave and wants to either come off mute and share what they came up with or pop in the chat? No one's feeling brave. There we go.
happy to
Thanks,
share,
Bill.
Ally. I was gonna say, did Bill volunteer? Somebody else volunteer?
Go for it, Renee, and then I'll read Bill's.
Okay. Use NetSuite to improve data accuracy and reporting.
Nice. Nice and simple, to the point, couple of words, perfect. Bill's got create a shared Connecticut food shared data strategy that all employees understand and support. Great one.
Yeah, it's probably a little weak in the outcomes compared to the other one that was. Say level.
That is fine. All right. Couple of hands raised. Anyone want to come off mute if you've got a question, or are those just people saying you're all good?
This is Jennifer. My hand was raised to offer another example, and then you can tell me if you feel like it's way too broad.
Go for it.
So I used 3 words: support agile transformation.
Nice. And again, you can be as, simple as possible, as broad. You can, break it down if you gotta go through this exercise and you're like, that wasn't, quite detailed enough. I maybe need to hit a little bit more. That's perfectly fine. This is a great exercise to just kind of do with your team, with your stakeholders, to kind of get the, juices flowing, make sure you're all on the same page for, figuring out what does that success look like? Are we on the same page with even just what is the outcome we're trying to drive towards? Kimberly, did you have a question or want to share yours?
Yeah, I just wanted to share mine. So it's a little bit longer. Mine was users can collect and track all needed information in the new system to do their job well.
All right, great.
A
Longer
fun
than 6,
exercise.
that's fine.
Ali, I'll drop that. Fun exercise with some of these outcomes I see too is what else does that give you? So like Cindy wrote, increase benefit prediction utilization rate to 30%. So if we're at 30%, there's probably some other outcomes that make sense for the firm or for whatever it is based on that. What if it was at 50%? What is that 60%? What's the value of it being at 30? And then what would happen if you got to 50? And so thinking too, that next level of, I want it at 30. Why do I want it at 30? Those are some of those outcomes too that you're going to want to like lock in on. Great stuff.
Awesome. Great examples coming in the chat. Keep them coming. Okay, I'm going to pop to the next step here. So now we're going to look at benefits. So here's where we're going to define 1, 2, 3 primary benefits of your desired project outcome. So if that outcome is achieved, what are the benefits we're going to see? So for some of our examples, we are, in order to save time and money, we want to make sure that we're self-enabling our legal department to respond to contract questions effortlessly. And now, again, we're taking this from our 360 value piece, but you can, of course, take it from however you defined what that value, what that outcome success looks like. So there is kind of one benefit. Another is to save time finding the right contract docs quickly. So of course, we're trying to save time and money. So we want to make sure that our legal people can find the individual document that they need when they need it. Another piece is to democratize that contract data accessibility across our entire organization. So we've got thousands of legal employees and some other employees that still need that contract data globally, all different levels. And so we need to make sure that people can get the document they need when they need it. So now I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to come up with a couple of benefits that would prove out that your outcomes are being met. So I'll give you another 3 minutes and, whatever you can come up with in that time.
And don't forget here too, this could be obvious things, right? It's not trying to be a hidden benefit or anything. This should be the things that everybody agrees are the benefits of whatever, we've adopted a tool or we're making a change in our policies, processes. It shouldn't be something that, you have to struggle to agree it's a benefit. And I'll add that it could be similar things, right? Because a lot of things are specialized. So if you're doing something in a specific tool that's for sales, well, there might be a lot of sales benefits, right? Or efficiency benefits or things like that. That doesn't mean that they're not great benefits or valid benefits if they're similar. It just happens to be the case that it's what it is.
Matt, may I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Thanks. When you went through, or when Allie was going through the benefits, she kind of toggled between these 3 squares. Did that on the right, were those the same? So sustainability, talent, inclusion, and diversity, were all those the same on those? I don't know if I missed something as I'm kind of considering benefits from that outcome.
Do you want to go back? Back to the top. So as you
Oh, they
see,
were?
they're a little bit
Yeah.
different
Yeah,
for each
thank
one.
you. Thank you. Okay, so experience, talent. Okay.
And the idea would be that in this case, we're showing 3 different benefits of the outcome, right? There could be
Mhm.
many more. Maybe
Mhm.
there's only one main benefit too. So don't, the whole idea of this tool, as Allie's shown you, as Brian explained, is to keep things sort of as simple and as streamlined of a purpose-driven sort of discussion as possible. And so, one thing that we had told our product owners and things when we were developing this with them was don't get hung up on all the what ifs and things, just what do we know about it? And we kind of lock that in. And then as you go through the exercise, you start to, it starts to open up some more thinking and things like that as well. And that
Great.
a question we get a lot is, can I do this just once or many times? And we say that, you should do this for as many times as you need to really unlock that purpose and value for whatever project it is. If it's a super complex one, you might do many of these, right? And you might be focusing on different areas for different reasons or at different times in the project. If it's this is maybe just part of a small enhancement or new implementation of something small, then maybe there is a real direct outcome and some real quick measurable benefits, but maybe just 1 or 2 of them. So
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that.
yeah.
Awesome. Great question. Okay. So now I will go to the next stop, which is behaviors. So here we're going to define 1 or 2 behaviors for each of these benefits that you would be able to observe. Now they could be kind of theoretical, or they could be something you can actually see. To make sure that those benefits are happening. So for us, if we're thinking about, responding to questions effortlessly, some of those behaviors we could see would be regular usage of our application, of our tool. It could also be using our topic and keyword searching accurately. So it's using the tool in the way it was intended to be used. For if we're looking at, saving time to find the right contract documents quickly, some behaviors we could see are accurate searching of contracts. You're using the search feature correctly, or looking at the right documents, not having to look at 10,000 documents to find the right one. If we're looking at contract accessibility, we may want to see usage across all different teams, levels, geographies, departments. We want to see that all the people are enabled to use this data. So here's where we're going to take a couple minutes. I think I'll do 2 minutes, maybe. We'll see where we get for behaviors for any of these benefits that you've defined.
And here again, it's possible that the behaviors are similar to get to different benefits. That's totally acceptable and normal.
All right. Okay, and lastly, we finally get to metrics. So here's where we're going to define 1 or 2 metrics that would indicate whether that correct action, that behavior, is actually occurring. So when we're looking at regular usage, we may want to look at total and unique logins, individual counts, and trends over time. If we're looking at, topics and keyword searches, we want to make sure people are using those features. If we want to look at accurate searching, we may want to see, number of searches, trends of searches, number of documents, trends of documents that people are finding what they need. And for that democratized data, we want to look to make sure that there's monthly consistent usage by team, level, geography, language. So we've got kind of the full picture that will pull you through. So I'll probably give you 3 minutes in case you want to go back and alter anything. But here's where you're going to track those individual data points to make sure that you're actually seeing those behaviors. And there are also some great content coming up in the chat. Those are great examples.
Metrics rolling in here.
Some great examples. All right. So hopefully this helps kind of think through, individual metrics, and are they tracking all the way back towards that outcome that you set out to achieve, or that's what success looks like, the business value that you're trying to drive towards, and that you're not just tracking things to track because you can or because you have access to that data, but that it has a real purpose and that it makes sense to track all of these things. So next, once you've got all those metrics, you say, great, now what do I do with all of that information? You're going to start to collect that data. And here's where we're now kind of got a couple of pieces of the framework in here, but we're starting to collect that data. We're analyzing it. We're coming up with a plan. What are we going to do if trends start to show one way or the other? And I will also say that, you know, this looks very complicated. And this took a long time to get here. I'll say, you know, we started with an Excel spreadsheet that had 2 columns filled out with the name of the person and the date time when they logged in. That is what we started with. Actually, we started with nothing, but then we got to that point. Then we were able to add in, you know, some HR data, be able to see where these people are located. Of course, we anonymized everything. Then we wanted to see, you know, what are they doing in the tool? So that's where we started to build out. Like this took months and months of iteration to get to this point. And so this is a dashboard in ClickView. There's tons of different business intelligence tools out there, Tableau, Power BI. You can use Excel, you can use PowerPoint, whatever makes sense, but it helps to really visualize that data that's started to come in. So you could easily also do this with survey data, with training data, with communications data, with cultural assessments, all of that you could pull into some visualization on some of your data. So, you know, while this looks like there's a lot on here, and there is a point that all of these pieces are those metrics that we just defined in that last phase. So, we're looking at a lot, but we're also making sure that we can take action on any one of these pieces when we're starting to look at the data. And so what we started to do, once we've now collected the data, we're starting to look at what insights can we take action on. Now we need to take that action. So here's where we're going to turn those insights into actions. So one thing that we started to see where total logins were pretty low for our target user group. And we're looking, you know, we're over time, these are by quarter. We're starting to see that people are not really logging into the tool like we thought we would. You know, we thought we had a great comms plan, people are aware of the tool, but maybe they weren't. So what action we're going to take is that we did a targeted roadshow to this user group where we went and did 40 individual, maybe more, demo sessions, training sessions within meetings that already existed. So we're not adding to their calendar, but we're working with our change network. We're developing more of a change network across the globe with these different teams, different levels, geographies, making sure that we're using really relevant examples for that group so that it really resonates on why they should even use this tool, because what we thought we were building wasn't quite what they saw the value in getting out of. So we wanted to really showcase what this tool could do for them individually, you know, kind of that what's in it for me, why would I even use this tool? So once we've done that roadshow, now we start to look at the data, and now we can see that, you know, vertical line right there when that intervention of the roadshow took place. We now see total logins increase by more than 260% for this user group alone. So now we're starting to see, okay, great, this intervention, you know, happened here, and now we see this new trend happening, and now we start to look at that and start to normalize that number over time, and now that becomes kind of the normal average number. And so this is also a great story for the change team on how effective this particular change strategy worked for this group. Now, another example, you know, logins are great, people are aware of the tool, but we want to make sure that people are using the tool in the way it was intended. So for us, we want to make sure that people are using our keyword search operators and using the search correctly. Now, search operators are kind of a, you know, the next level of searching, but you can use this in your, you know, Google, Bing, any of those, where you're pulling in these keyword little operator pieces. So, and, not, or, putting quotations around multiple words to make it a phrase. An asterisk works as kind of a wild card. And you're really helping people search more efficiently by doing this and more effectively. So instead of having to search a million times, you can search once or twice and filter right to what you need more quickly. But we look at the data and we start to see no one's using any of these things. Now, we've included it in our training, we've included it in those roadshows, but people are just not there yet. It's like a little bit too much. So what we did, the action we took, was to do a video campaign to upskill our users in how to search better using these operators. And again, we're using real life examples for that particular team. We're leveraging the Change Network we just built in the roadshows. And we're using, quick 30 seconds or less examples to pull from. And why would you use this? Why would I use this special operator? And now after we look at the data, now we start to see that people are starting to use these operators in our keyword searches when we look at kind of the top 10 searches. So now we're able to prove that people are using the tool in the way it was intended. We're getting people to search more efficiently that will save time and money. Now, one thing I will call out here is that when you are going to do a change intervention, you want to be aware of any changes to other metrics, kind of unintended, that happen to change based on the intervention you just took. So for us, when we first started out, our metrics were, logins, number of searches, number of documents viewed. We thought we want all those numbers high. We want people logging in all the time. We want them doing lots of searches. They're using the tool a lot. But when we do this intervention, we're actually teaching people how to be more efficient. So we actually want searches to go down. Now, that was a big kind of aha moment that we wanted to make sure that our business stakeholders and our leadership was aware of, so that when they look at the dashboard and they go back and they say, wait a second, you just did all this training and now people are not using the tool anymore. Well, no, actually they're more efficient. We're seeing that their searches are, more effective, and they're able to find the contract documents quickly, so that we want actually the searches to go down, potentially the documents viewed to go down, because they're able to do one search and find the exact document of the millions of documents out there, rather than doing a search, changing it a little bit, filtering, going find, click on 10 documents, and you can't quite find the right one. Right, we're trying to save time, which equals money. So this is another kind of great example of, the change team coming in and being real superheroes. Of course, you can, drive out your success story just for your change team in both of these examples, but it really does go back to the business outcomes that your project was set out to do in the beginning anyway. So that's great. We've done all these actions. We've seen some changes. People are using the tool in the way it was intended. We're getting some, traction here with our users. But now we need to pull that all together. And the last kind of piece of the journey is we need to tell that business value story. So here we're going to look at, set the stage with our outcomes, right? We wanted to build this application to respond to contract questions effortlessly, to observe contract trends, and saving significant time and money. And that comes right from that, our 360 value meter. Our first step in the value to metrics example is really, we're just trying to save time and money. It really just comes down to that. So next we're going to, look at the benefits, and we're pulling that again just from step 2 of our value to metrics exercise, where we're self-enabling legal to respond to questions, saving time to find the right documents quickly, democratizing data. And then we're a technology company, so we're going to highlight some of the technology solutions, but that can again track back to those behaviors. Why did we make that change? So we can change the user behavior. And then you want to pull it all together with your business value. So yes, we have logins. Yes, we have documents viewed, but that converts to lots of money and dollars and time saved. So we've got millions of dollars saved, tens of thousands of hours on searches that are conducted. So it really pulls kind of that whole story together for the business to see the real value there. So now I'm going to throw it to Matt to wrap us up and bring it all back together.
Thank you so much. I love those examples. It's great to see everybody in the chat as well. Why insights to actions? Again, it's all about the outcomes achieved. This is all about why we are coming into, our different projects, our teams, our offices, and we're working on these things, not just for fun, right? But mostly because there's some purpose, some sort of legit reason that this project was spun up. There's a huge initiative, there's a big change. And we should all, just like being on a good team, understand that, what is that end goal? What are we trying to achieve and how do we make that happen? So that's what this has been about. Hopefully you've seen that we've kind of walked through this process a couple different ways, like trying to bring it at a high level, give you those checklists, but then also a real world example and that real simple process of how to think about it. Of course, things in the real world maybe are a little bit more complicated, but taking these defined steps should get you towards that real defined space that you need to be in order to use this information to start to take some action in your own projects and to recognize success. So we'll leave you with a couple more examples as time runs out here of some other types of data that you can take all the way along that journey into actions. And we hope that you're going to take this home and do it yourself. Of course, contact us if you ever do have any questions. Allie is in your guys' domain over there in New England. So she's always ready to answer questions, as we all are. And we really appreciate your guys' time today. Looking forward to another one in the future.
Matt and Allie, can you stay on and answer a couple questions from the chat?
Yes.
Thank you. It was excellent.
Yeah,
Sorry,
before
I
we
was a
go
little late.
there, if we just pause for a moment. So Rosemary is asking, how long do you monitor these metrics for change management? When is your warranty period over? And do you pass metrics along to the business sponsor for ongoing insights? See that in the chat.
I'll give a quick answer, and then Allie, maybe you can describe how it went on that project itself, as in terms of realistically. So, as I said at the top of the call, our group within Accenture is a journey and change management group dedicated to driving change management across all the different projects at Accenture. And we do it in sort of 2 or 3 ways, and that's how we sort of monitor these things. Essentially there's some brand new thing, right? That's like the hugest new deal, maybe like an AI right now or something that, there's obviously a ton of time and money and attention and metrics and things like that going on all at once. And that will go on until it's no longer an important thing, right? And so there's always going to be something new and shiny that we're going to start to track against until we figure out what really matters and things like that. When it comes to most of the projects, though, how it works is that if it's in a brand new deployment, then we'll have sort of like a deployment journey, right? And then we'll be tracking a certain type of outcome and metric that we would expect to be happening, and we would want to be happening during those deployment times, right? And then it goes into what we call sort of like a business as usual. And then we're going to sort of adjust the way that we work with those projects away from this, like, real fast deployment where we're tracking immediate things, making immediate adjustments, and more. Now it's like we're up that change curve a little bit, and we're now looking for that sustainment, right? We're looking for those people to be really using these tools in the ways that we expect they learned, we expect that now has become part of the business process. And that's where, we're going to continue to watch these things, maybe with a little bit less investment and intensity, but with probably more purpose around those specific areas that we really expected the outcome for. So at Accenture, we partner closely with the business on any project that there's deemed some sort of value that we're still, trying to get from it. And we do work with them to track against those essentially forever, if possible, as long as we're expecting to see something. Now, there'll be a lot of things where it's like, hey, we do time reports. Everybody does their time report. Well, we don't really track that, right? That's not an important metric, but maybe in that tool, instead of that, we track some new enhancement around expenses or something that didn't exist before. So maybe we're not looking at that initial thing, but we are looking at something that is a new enhancement that makes a difference at the time. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'm long-winded.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, kind of track it until it's not important anymore, or there's no more actions to take against it. For a new kind of technology deployment, we're looking maybe at first when we're going live, we're looking daily or hourly. Maybe then it kind of slows out to weekly, then we're getting to monthly, and then we're getting to quarterly. Just it's helpful to have someone on your team, check in every once in a while if it's something just kind of averaging out. Like this program that we talked about is on year 5 at this point, and logins and usage is very steady. So I only need to check in every so often when we're going to do a release, I'll check in a little bit more frequently, but as long as I'm still able to take an action, do some kind of intervention if I need to, is when I'm still looking at it. Other than that, it lives, it goes on, the dashboard is existent, we update it with data, but we're not checking it as rigorously.
Okay, thank you both for sharing that, and the perspective of how you sort of operate internally to support your change journey. So thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
I think Brandy's gonna wrap us up if you advance the slide.
I'm happy to. I do know we're a little bit past time. There's still a handful of people on the line. I'm thinking it might make more sense. Definitely leave that up. Anybody that is willing to share now, while it's still top of mind, this event is the result of feedback that you shared. So if you continue to share that, so we can make sure that we're bringing you the type of content that is timely and useful. And so grateful to you, Allie, Brian, and Matt, for sharing this wisdom and leading the conversation today. So thank you for that. I think I have a few new favorite phrases. I doubt I'm alone, but democratizing data. I've heard it, but I've kind of forgot it, and I love alliteration. So I'm gonna use that one, vanity metrics, and then your V2M, value to metrics tagline. So terrific for all of that. And I think maybe the biggest takeaway, that we're all grateful for the affirmation that we can still count some degree of success simply in lessons learned. I think that's terrific. So the survey link is there. If you are able to do it now, that's terrific. Again, knowing that we're past time, I will go ahead and share that in the follow-up email. And then also in the follow-up, we do have quite a few things right around the corner. So we'll detail that with the recording, with the PDF, with the fabulous worksheets that you guys have offered here today. And I think otherwise we should probably sign off. It's quitting time. Yabba dabba do.
Sounds good
So
to
much,
me.
everyone.
I'm gonna stop the recording right now. Thank you so much for joining, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.